Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Horror Dens podcast. And this is a little bit of a different one because within today's episode we will be discussing the 97th Academy Awards that went down last night of recording, obviously the Oscars. Now there's a lot of things to talk about and you're probably wondering this is a horror podcast. Why are we talking about the Oscars? That is because the horror industry and that genre specifically has gotten a lot of support with this Oscars, specifically with two films with The Substance and Nosferatu. So I'm very, very happy to be discussing this. So what we will be doing is going through each category and discussing if I agree or disagree. Now I will be leaving out every category that I have not seen each film in. For example, I have not seen any of the short films, animated or live action. Therefore, I will be leaving them out because, quite frankly, I think it's unfair to rank my opinion on who won and who didn't win in consideration when I haven't seen any of his short films. So, without further ado, we will be discussing the first category, which is the first one for film editing, which was obviously won by Sean Baker with Anora. Now, I have to say, there was a lot of choice when it came to this film, of obviously up against Wicked, Emilia Perez, Conclave, and The Brutalist. However, I thought there was only one winner here with Anora. I think Anora swept the Oscars, and I predicted that from the start. I knew there would be one film in particular that would sweep it. I did think it would be The Brutalist, to be honest. I knew Adrian Brody was going to win Best Actor, but when it came to Anora, wow, it swept this Oscars. And when it comes to Sean Baker's editing of this film, I absolutely adored Anora. I mean, I have so many people that I've seen complain about Anora winning as much as it did. I think it was excellent. I genuinely believe Anora was an excellent, excellent film. I thought the Oscars this year was very, very strong. There was some interesting choices when it came to who won now. For example, I thought Anora was an excellent, excellent film. I mean, when it comes to sweeping the Oscars, you gotta give it to them. And of course, none other than Neon again. Really successful in the Oscars. First, we had Parasite. Now we have Anora. They have two Best Picture Academy Award winners. Not only that, their horror side of things have been smashing at the box office, like The Monkey, Long Legs, Immaculate. So many incredible films. Neon is absolutely crushing it in the last few years. I would dare say they're slowly getting up towards A24 when it comes to the whole vibe of the films they make and the success rate. I really love Neon. I'm excited to see what comes next from them as well. But of course, when it comes to Anora with film editing, editing is definitely something that can really make or break a film. I mean, when it came to Anora, I thought the editing was really good. It was really quick. It was nice. It was really, really good pacing. And when it comes to, let's say, The Brutalist, which is 3.5 hours long, sometimes that can just be a bit too extensive for some people. Like, I did think The Brutalist was very, very long. However, I still enjoyed it. But when it comes to editing, and Anora absolutely smashed it, in my opinion, and a well deserved Oscar win. I mean, to me, there was no competition with that in with that category, to be honest. And yeah, I gotta say, Anora was well deserved to win that one. However, the next winner is something I'm so proud of, and in my opinion, there was absolutely no competition for this one. There was no competition whatsoever with the winner of makeup and hairstyling, of course, being The Substance. I do not care. Nosferatu, yes, his look in the film is unbelievable with makeup, but the substance is on a whole nother level. I mean, the substance is a staple in drama and horror, in my opinion. And for this film to be nominated for not only Best Picture, we had Best Leading Actress, so many, I think it was adapted, or no, original screenplay as well. So for that film to even have as many nominations as it did, I'm so proud of it. I mean, I adore this movie. I did think Mikey Madison was gonna win, best leading actress. I was a little bit good at when Demi Moore didn't, but I will get onto that later. When it comes to makeup and hairstyling, there was no way anything else was gonna win. When you've seen The Substance, in even when you watch half of the films nominated, of course, with A Different Man, Nosferatu, Emilia Perez, and Wicked, when you see that stuff, it does not compare to The Substance. I mean, The Substance's whole plot revolves, and the impact of that plot revolves around this whole makeup style at the end of the film. And to me, it is gross, it's grotesque. And I gotta say, they absolutely smashed it. They smashed it with this film. The substance of winning makeup and hairstyling, there was no competition. I mean, there was literally no competition. The only thing I could think of would be a different man and maybe Nosferatu. But when it comes to those films, it literally is just a different man with the whole face of the character in there. I didn't actually watch a different man. I've just seen obviously the trailers and stuff, and of course Nosferatu being the face of Nosferatu and how he looks. Of course, an amazing makeup, but obviously again just the one character or so. But when it comes to the substance, there's so many elements that are practical effects. For whether it be the actual production of the better self. I mean, that is one aspect of this film which is horrifying. We of course have that ending scene. There's so many different elements that has different incredible uh, displays of makeup and hairstyling, and there was no competition for me. The substance absolutely smashed this one. No competition whatsoever. I completely agree with it. When it comes on to the next Oscar win, of course, is production design, which went to Wicked. I'll be honest, I wasn't the biggest fan of Wicked. I just really didn't vibe with it, to be honest. Um, Now, when it comes to production design, I would have personally given this to Dune. I mean, obviously we have Wicked, The Brutalist, Dune, Nosferatu, and Conclave. Conclave is amazing, but I gotta say I'm surprised that didn't win more than it did. I genuinely believe it should have won something more than that, to be honest. But Conclave unfortunately did not win. Neither did Dune Part Two. But Wicked. Now, Wicked over Dune Part Two. I don't know. Now, don't get me wrong. Wicked's production design is absolutely insane. It's absolutely amazing. I'm very happy it won costumes, by the way. I'm pretty sure it's further up into the list. The costume design. That was amazing. I'm so happy it won that. But we, of course, will get onto that. When it comes to production design, I would have given this to Dune. I mean, Dune is incredible. The way Dune looks is it's actually just mesmerizing. The way that movie looks, the first and second film. I am happy just in general. Most of the films I enjoyed did win at least one award last night. But for me, Dune Part 2, I feel like it should have won this one. It does obviously go on to win the next category, which we'll talk about. But when it comes to Wicked, of course, the design of everything in Wicked is amazing. Of course, it is. But just my own personal preference, I would have given this to Dune. Overall, though, very, very good film with Wicked. I just didn't enjoy it. I can see why other people enjoy it. Completely agree. It's definitely one of them films where you're either going to really like it or you're not going to really like it. Even though someone who absolutely adores musicals, I love La La Land, The Greatest Showman, so many different ones. Obviously, are just like the more modern musicals I like. But when it comes to Wicked, wasn't a huge fan. Wish Dune got this one. I would have given this one to Dune. However, of course, Wicked, I can understand why it won that one. However, this one I'm really happy with. The best sound with Dune Part 2. I mean, again, no competition. I mean, Doom Part 2, it was bound to win something, and it did win multiple, which is a massive W. It won over The Wild Robot, Wicked, Emilia Paris, and Complete Unknown. It took the cake for over those films. I gotta be honest, in comparison to those, I think it's on a whole different level. I mean, obviously, other films have great sound design and stuff like that, but when it comes to Dune, it's a whole nother level. I mean, you have all these films, and you have Dune all the way up here, in my opinion. I think it's excellent. When it comes to that design of everything, even the sandworms, the way like the music is. I know the soundtrack couldn't be eligible for this Oscars because it was the same soundtrack as the first film. But I do think that this is a well deserved win. Probably one of the more obvious ones, other than the one that Dune wins as well. However, the next category, which I'm going to talk about, is the one I have the most controversy over, and the one I'm more frustrated over, in my opinion, and that is cinematography. Now, The Brutalist. From what I've heard, now I watched The Brutalist, really enjoyed it, really liked it. A lot of it's AI. Now, how Nosferatu did not win cinematography is insane to me. And better yet, Dune Part 2 didn't win cinematography. I was talking to multiple people before the Oscars that the two that I was near enough guaranteed would win cinematography would be Nosferatu and Dune Part 2, and neither one. I am very shocked about that one. I would have given it to Nosferatu. And I know you're probably going to say, Cal, that's the horror person in you just wanting the horror films to do well at the Oscars. Would you be right? Absolutely, you would be right. But when you watch Nosferatu, the way that film looks is nothing short of mesmerizing. I don't know what was going on to get the Brutalists to win over Nosferatu and Dune. I mean, Dune in itself, I was so convinced. I was actually kind of getting annoyed. I was actually getting annoyed to the fact that I knew Dune would beat Nosferatu, but then the Brutalists beat Dune. I didn't expect that whatsoever. I mean, don't get me wrong, the cinematography in the Brutalists is great, but over Nosferatu and Dune, I don't know about that one personally. I mean, personally, I would have went for Nosferatu there. I mean, the carriage scene alone in Nosferatu is insane. I mean, for me, that should have been the Oscar in itself. The whole journey to Orlok's castle in Nosferatu should have been Oscar worthy, in my opinion. Same with Dune Part Two. I mean, the wide shots in and the extreme wide shots in Dune are insane. They are unbelievable. I mean, when you watch Dune, you see those wide shots and you see everything in frame. It's just unbelievable. It's mesmerizing, and I cannot believe neither of them won that one. I was watching it last night. Bear in mind, I watched the Oscars like 2, 3 a.m. my time, and I was waiting for Nosferatu. I was so certain Nosferatu or Dune were winning cinematography, and when I saw the Brutalist name come out over them two, I was very, very shocked, I gotta say. And a part of me is a little bit hurt over it because, quite frankly, I did want to, I wanted to celebrate both horror films getting some sort of recognition at the Oscars when it comes to actually winning. The Substance, of course, getting makeup, that was a given. But there was a lot of nominations here with the horror films that they did not win, that I really wish they did win, because in some aspects, some of them were very close. I mean, there's no way that cinematography category was like really far apart. I mean, the Brutalist, Dune, and Nosferatu are insane, and I would imagine all three of them were probably the leading film to win that Oscar. And I would imagine it was probably neck and neck the whole way through. So for me, of course, the Brutalist wins. Yes, I'm of course happy the Brutalist wins Oscars, but a little piece of me died when Nosferatu lost, I have to say. But of course, costume design, a huge topic of discussion after the Oscars, of course, with Paul Tazewell, I hope I'm getting that name right, for Wicked, being the first black man to win an Oscar for costume design. I'm pretty sure that's what that was, and I gotta say, yes. Of course I wanted Nosferatu to win, because of course costume design, and that one is also excellent. But Wicked, I can completely agree with that one. The costumes made by Paul Tazewell in that film is nothing short of amazing, and I genuinely believe he may have had the best speech at the awards. I think his speech was so incredible. I gotta say, some of the wins here, they were great, but some speeches make the wins so much better. And that Paul Tazewell speech for Wicked, a costume design for that Oscar, honestly, it was just so emotional, like listening to that incredible speech, and you gotta give it to him. As much as I did not be a huge fan of Wicked, of course it was okay. It's not my personal type of film when it comes to the musical side of things. I love musicals, but just the fact it was Wicked, I don't know what it was. I was just not the biggest fan of it, unfortunately. But my sister was. My little sister absolutely adored this film. So when it comes to this and seeing the story behind everything, you gotta just say and stand up and give a round of applause to Paul Tazewell for the costume design in this film, because anyone can agree, regardless if you liked the film or you didn't like the film, the way the costumes look, bringing the characters to life from the Broadway musical, is nothing short of amazing. And of course, it deserved the Oscar. In my opinion, it deserved it. And there's no doubt about that one. Now, of course, I think, in my opinion, these next three categories with visual effects, animated feature film, and adapted screenplay were amazing winners. We're going to go into visual effects because I think it was obvious from the moment this film was nominated for this specific category, it was going to win it. And of course, visual effects went to Dune Part 2 over Wicked, Planet of the Apes, Better Man, and Romulus. Of course, I would have loved to see Alien win an Oscar. That would have been something short of perfection. I would have absolutely adored it. However, it was so obvious Dune was going to win this. I mean, Dune for visual effects is unbelievable. Planet of the Apes, though, I think probably would have been my second choice for that one. But wow. You gotta just say wow in that sort of sense, because I gotta say, the the effects in Dune, I mean, they are just mesmerizing. Like the cinematography and visual effects from a film standpoint, Dune is incredible. Dune from a film standpoint is just genuinely incredible, and you got to give it to them. They're absolutely so talented. Like it's like it is just so talented. And as someone who wants to be a full-time filmmaker, those are the films you want to watch. Those really cinematic big blockbusters looking at how incredible you can do when it comes to practical effects and really good CGI effects, because the CGI in both Dune films, wow. There's so many elements as a horror fan specifically. We have so many films that mess up CGI. I'll use It Chapter 1 and 2 examples. The CGI in those films are not that great. When we have practical effects for, of course, things like The Thing, as you can see in my background there. With The Thing, with practical effects in horror, it shows how good practical actually can be. With Dune, it literally blends both of them. And of course, Dune's not a horror film. It's making a comparison to horror films because I love horror films. But when it comes to Dune, it was such a given winner. I mean, in my opinion, it was so obvious it was going to win that one. I think it genuinely had the Oscar when it was first announced. I think, in my opinion, it was the most obvious Oscar win of the night. And the next one actually did catch me off guard with the animated feature film, which we had The Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, Memoir of a Snail, Inside Out 2, and Flow, which of course the Oscar went to Flow. Now, I did not watch Flow, however, my girlfriend did. She said it was incredible. Now, from what I know, Flow is, I don't know where it was produced. However, I know it's a film that has no dialogue and is strictly based off animal noises. I don't know what the story's about now, unfortunately. I will have to watch it because it does look incredible. But when it comes to the animated feature film, I did think Inside Out 2 was a great adaptation. As someone who really relates to some aspects of Inside Out 2, specifically towards the end of that film, it got me tearing up. Inside Out 2, like the first one, was incredible, and of course, it's going to be such a successful film for Disney, which I'm assuming we will get an Inside Out 3 very soon. Memoir of a Snail is also one I did not watch, unfortunately, so I have no idea how to say about it. However, I gotta say, wouldn't it have been incredible if Wallace and Gromit won an Oscar? I gotta say, like in some alternate universe, Wallace and Gromit wins an Oscar. Let's just think, just while you're listening to this, just think about that for a second. Wallace and Gromit could have won an Oscar. Even that thought in your head is incredible. But my ultimate prediction was going to be the Wild Robot. I thought the Wild Robot was going to win animated feature film. However, it did go to Flow. And again, as someone who hasn't seen Flow, I would assume it's very, very good. I mean, it's won the Oscar over some films over here, which I absolutely adore. So, and the animation I've seen from Flow is incredible. The ones I have seen. I have seen The Wild Robot, Wallace and Gromit, and of course Inside Out 2. So when it comes to them films and how much I adored them, with Flow winning it over them, it must be incredible. And the Wild Robot was, oh my god. Whew, the Wild Robot was good. But I gotta say, I thought the Wild Robot was gonna take that one. Unfortunately, it did not. However, Flo completely okay with that one. Of course, haven't seen it, but I will have to watch it. So hopefully, it is actually good. But of course, I'm so happy with adapted screenplay because Conclave won. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing it right. But anyway, the obviously the nominations for adapted screenplay was Clint Bentley and Craig Guidar. I hope I'm pronouncing that right for Sing Sing. We have Ramel Ross and Jocelyn Barnes for Nickel Boys. Jacques Audiard for Emilia Perez. Jay Cox and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. And of course, Peter Straughan for Conclave, which eventually won it. Now, Sing Sing was incredible. Nickel Boys, incredible. Emilia Perez, I was not a fan of. And A Complete Unknown, incredible. Conclave, incredible. This was a really strong category, and I would have given it to Conclave myself. Have not read the book, unfortunately. I will have to read it, but I gotta say, Conclave was something short of incredible. I know it won the Brits. I'm not exactly sure how it went on at the SAG Awards. I didn't watch a lot of the SAGs. I only really watched the Brits and the Oscars. When it comes to Conclave, I know that won the Brits for Best Film. So, I mean, for Ray Fiennes, it's really, really cool to see how successful he's been with this film specifically. And I mean, for example, we have so many incredible nominees in that categories. Let's say that chapter. I was getting into book talk, but now into that category really is some incredible nominations in there. And like so with the original screenplay, now, for me, I did predict Honora was going to win this, and of course it did, because Sean Baker just swept up and decided to make history at the Oscars all of a sudden. But I really wanted the Substance to win this one. I really did. However, I saw a lot of backlash with A Real Pain not winning this one. I can see why. I mean, A Real Pain was wow. That was some film, and I mean Jesse Eisenberg killed it with the script for that film. I mean, such a powerful script in my opinion. But when it comes to this, I really wanted the Substance to win. I really, really did. Unfortunately, it did not. Of course, it did end up going to Honora, which makes sense. I mean, Honora's script is incredible. That movie is incredible. But for me personally, I mean, I would have went for the Substance. But I can definitely see why so many people are, annoyed with the kind of just complete disregard for A Real Pain. I mean, obviously, of course, best the supporting actor went to Kieran Culkin, of course, but I thought A Real Pain was going to do a lot better at these awards. I genuinely believed it was going to. I thought it would have wrapped up original screenplay. I was hoping it did, along with the Substance, but I did end up changing my prediction to Honora last second, and of course, it did go up and win because Sean Baker with 4 Oscars in the one night. Dude, that's incredible. But of course, all the scripts in that category are amazing. Of course, for Honora, The Brutalist, The Real Pain, September 5, and of course, The Substance. I think The Substance, it would have just been cool to see The Substance win again. It is just the horror fan in me. Every time The Substance or Nosferatu is going to be nominated, I will just have that part of me that really wished they won. But of Nora, I can understand why it won. To me, if I'm talking completely unbiased, it would have been between A Real Pain and Honora. I thought that was probably going to be the head to head, which seems to be that case online as well. But of course, Honora went on to win. Now, original song, I didn't really agree with this one with El Mal or A Mal from Emilia Perez. I would have went for Like a Bird from Sing Sing. That's not much to say about Emilia Perez, to be honest. I just believed Like a Bird from Sing Sing was a better song. Just my own personal preference. Again, I didn't watch any of the documentary features or the international feature film. Of course, I know Flo and Emilia Perez in there. However, of course, I'm not going to comment on either of those categories in consideration. I didn't watch too many of the nominations, so therefore, it's unfair to me to side with you if I agree or not. I just don't think that's fair. So we will jump all the way to Best Supporting Actor, which of course was Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, which went on to win it. Really funny speech, by the way. Anyway, was a lot of good, a lot of good nominations in this. This was such a strong category. I mean, we have Kieran Culkin, we have Borisov. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. For Honora, he was incredible. Edward Norton, of course, one of my favorite actors of all time. With obviously with a certain film which we can't say the name of because of strict rules. If you know, you know. But of course, Guy Pearce as well for The Brutalist, incredible, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. I mean, that is such a stacked category, right? I thought I'm pretty sure Kieran Culkin wiped that category in every single awards. I mean, I had him as winning it because I just adored A Real Pain. I adored that film. His performance, I also adored. He was incredible. So when it comes to Kieran Culkin winning for A Real Pain, I didn't think there was much of a competition. I know Edward Norton and stuff and Guy Pearce is there, but for me personally, Kieran Culkin wiped the floor with a lot of those actors. I mean, it's crazy to even think of that, but Kieran Culkin was incredible. And again, I feel like he had it wrapped up before any of the awards were even announced. I mean, I think the whole thing going around online was the fact that, oh, Kieran Culkin's obviously going to win this. And it was very, very obvious. And I was like, okay, yeah, he probably will. And he did. Like, easily, no competition. And you got to give it to him. He was incredible in A Real Pain. And, of course, we go on to Best Supporting Actress, which I personally would have went with Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, or of course Isabella Rossellini for Conclave. Well, of course, we also have Monica Barbero for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, and of course, the winner was Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez. Now, don't get me wrong, Zoe Saldana was really, really good in Emilia Perez. I still would have preferred Felicity Jones or Isabella Rossellini won, personally, in my own opinion. just based on what I experienced watching those two films over Emilia Perez. Ariana Grande for Wicked, I saw a lot of people arguing that. Now, don't get me wrong, she was pretty good in Wicked. I don't think it was an Oscar worthy performance. Now, personally, this is my own opinion. She was good though. And of course, a complete unknown is also a very strong candidate. I'm not really gonna comment much on this or on this category. I almost said chapter again, but on this category, it was very, very strong. If any of those actresses won it, I would have been okay with it. I mean, everyone done a really good job in their respective roles. From now, with supporting actress, supporting actor, best actress, and best actor, any of the wins would have been fair enough. I mean, Emilia Perez, of course, I didn't enjoy that film, but Zoe Saldana did stand out. It is so obvious that she did. Like, she was really, really good. However, we go on to Best Actress, which of course was the knife in the heart for Demi Moore and myself for and Demi Moore not winning it for The Substance. She did win the SAG award though, so that's a huge W. But of course, it swept again with Mikey Madison for Honora. I mean, that was my prediction. My obviously there's wants and predictions. My want was of course, Demi Moore with The Substance, but obviously the prediction was Mikey Madison. She was just incredible in Honora. There's nothing else to put it past her. She was just incredible. And she near enough wiped the floor a lot of the awards, except for the SAGs, which obviously went to Demi Moore. Um, I'm pretty sure that was probably the head to head. I think Demi Moore and Mikey Madison was probably like neck and neck for that Oscar. Of course, it would have just been incredible though to see Demi Moore win an Oscar because if you didn't know, the SAG award that she won for The Substance was her first ever award. So could you imagine your second ever award being an Oscar? I mean, personally, that just would have been incredible. I mean, Mikey Madison for Honora, though, incredible performance. Cynthia Erivo, of course, the sing. I gotta say this though, the as much as I'm not a fan of Wicked, the opening to the Oscars with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo singing, that was incredible. You gotta give it to them. That was such an incredible opening. Of course, we have Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. I thought that was a really good performance, and to me, I felt like she was an underdog. I genuinely fully believe Fernanda Torres was such an underdog for I'm Still Here with this category, and I would not have been surprised if they won it. I would not have been surprised if Fernanda Torres went and won that Oscar because a lot of people went under the radar, and Fernanda Torres for her performance in I'm Still Here would have been one of them, and I would have fully agreed if they ended up did winning the Oscar for that. But unfortunately, for their case, Mikey Madison went and won. My prediction was right. I think I got out of my like however many predictions. I think I got like six right, so I'll take it. Um, and also all best supporting actor, best actress, and best actor. I did end up my best supporting actor, best actress, and best actor were all predicted right for myself. And of course, for best actor, we had Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. I mean, Adrian Brody is just iconic. He's had two ever Oscar nominations and won them both. I mean, and both of the films end with ist. We have The Pianist and we have The Brutalist. It's just incredible. Of course, that Best Actor nominations, they were such a strong category again. Sebastian Sam for The Apprentice, Ray Fiennes for Conclave. We have Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, which I would have absolutely adored for Coleman Domingo to win that. I'm really upset he didn't because I love him as an actor so so much. And of course we have Chalamet. If you did watch the Oscars, you'll see Adam Sandler for Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. I did believe I saw on Twitter a lot that Timothy Chalamet was actually tipped as favorite to win this award. However, of course, Adrian Brody, being the goat he is when it comes to acting, went and won it for The Brutalist. I completely agree with that. Any of them actors winning that Best Actor Oscar would have been a very fair result. I mean, there's no actor on that category that wouldn't have deserved to win it. Every single last one of those actors deserved to win it if they did. So I mean, a lot of them will believe that those performances should have gotten them an Oscar, and they would be right to think so. It's just honestly just preference. I adored Adrian Brody as an actor. I still do. He was incredible in The Brutalist, so you gotta give it to him. But overall, I'm actually really happy with the Oscars. Of course, I would have preferred for The Substance and Nosferatu to get more wins. I mean, Nosferatu picking up no wins really hurts me deep down. But I fully believe it should have won cinematography. But however, of course, The Substance being so so close. However, it did win a lot of SAG awards. Of course, it just would have been incredible if that won Best Picture. I mean, could you imagine? Of course, we'll talk about Best Picture as well, which obviously went to Anora. I mean, my prediction was Anora in the end. I originally said The Brutalist, then switched to Anora last second. I just think it would have been incredible if The Substance won Best Picture. I mean, could you imagine that? That would have been incredible. But of course, we had Anora, The Brutalist, The Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. And of course, Anora went and swept that award yet again. You gotta give it to Honora, picking up 5 Academy Awards. I'm pretty sure it only lost one of the categories it was in, which was Yuri Borislov in Best Supporting Actor. All the rest of the awards that Honora was nominated for, they won. Incredible. That is ultimately all we have for the Oscars. I mean, I gotta say, I'm really happy with the Oscars. I thought it was really, really fun. I didn't think there was any crazy robberies, so to say. I think everyone was fair with the wins. I think everyone who won deserved to win. It's just based on preference, of course. I mean, I'm happy with all the wins. I'm not fussed too much. Only one I am fussed about is Nosferatu not winning cinematography. That's the only one I'm fussed about. But of course, I would love to hear everyone else's thoughts. If you're watching some YouTube podcast, do let me know in the comments what you thought of the Oscars, what your predictions were as well. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on the Oscars overall. But of course, that is going to be end of today's podcast episode. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like on the video if you are watching on YouTube. If you're watching this on Spotify or listening along, wherever you might be in the world, do leave a rating as well. I really do appreciate all the ratings on Spotify. We're currently sitting at a 5-star rating on Spotify. I love you all. That is insane. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube as well, I really just appreciate all the support. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. And thank you so much for stumbling into the Horror's Den. I know this wasn't technically a Horror's Den episode, but of course, it's movies and we love movies. That's what we're all here for. And of course, thank you so much for stumbling into the Horror's Den. And I really do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next episode.